There's a new Pew poll out that asks all different stripes of liberals and conservatives different questions about what they think about all these different issues. And there's one question where the response of the conservatives was so overwhelming that I had to just isolate it and come out and talk about it today. Because, again, even though I cover the news on a daily basis and we go through all these different, 15 stories a day or so, this goes above and beyond anything I would have even thought. So first, let me lay out that in the poll, there are 3 different branches of conservatism that they're going to ask questions to. So one of them they call the young outsiders. They don't really define it, but I kind of interpret that as libertarian-leaning people, you know? The second one is business conservatives, so I think of Wall Street, even a lot of guys in Washington, these conservatives who pretend like all they care about is fiscal discipline and the economy and stuff like that, the CNBC people. And then there's also steadfast conservatives. When I hear that, I think of, the Rush Limbaugh branch, Sean Hannity branch, the listeners to those programs, all 13 of them. So they asked the question, do the poor have hard lives? Now let's pause here for a second. Think about that. It's almost a question that, you don't need to ask an opinion because it's like a definition kind of thing. They are poor. If somebody is poor, well, by definition, the middle-class people and the rich people, they have more material wealth and well-being, and of course it's a well-established fact that if you have more material wealth and well-being up to a point, then you can live more comfortably. If you don't have to worry about paying the bills and feeding your kids, that kind of de-stresses people, right? Listen, look at these responses, okay? Do the poor have hard lives? The young outsider conservatives, only 10% said yes, they have hard lives. So they probably think that the rich have harder lives than the poor. No, but how can you think that? That is overwhelming stupidity. But okay, let's stop because a lot of people are probably thinking, well, those are the young outsiders. Young, they might not know as much as older people who have more life experiences and, who they don't fucking know what they're talking about. Look at the business conservatives. They probably know better than anybody else, right? 9% say, yes, the poor have hard lives. 91% of business conservatives are poor? It's got to be easy to be poor. Really smart guy. Why don't you go sell all your stuff and move to the middle of Somalia, then come back and talk to me about if you think the poor have hard lives or not. Or you don't want to go to a war-torn region? Fine, just go to a poor place that's not in the middle of a war right now. See how it works out. Okay, but last group, you're thinking, well, maybe steadfast conservatives, they have a reputation, but maybe they're more rational. And look, a lot of people who listen to right-wing radio, they think no, we actually believe that the conservative ideology would help poor people more. So we're not anti-poor, and we know they have hard lives, right? Only 7% of steadfast conservatives said the poor have hard lives. These idiots think it's easy to be poor. They think it's easier to be poor, and you have an easier time of living, and it's not hard to be poor, but being rich, oh, well, come on, man, the rich, they have it the worst with their all their yachts and all their mansions and all their supermodel girlfriends and their Maseratis and everybody loving them and them owning the politicians and running the country. Oh, it's so hard, man. What'll they do if they run out of caviar? Sweet Jesus. But see, this is what I mean, man, when I say I'm very dismissive of conservatives nowadays. Not because of a fault on my end, but because they deserve it. They deserve it. How are we supposed to sit here and have a conversation about what policies are best and which direction we should take the country in when you're not even acknowledging the basic fact that the poor have it harder than the middle class and the rich? You don't even acknowledge that. You think the poor have it easy. And why is that? Because of that thought virus that was planted in their head from right-wing talk radio and Fox News and all the Republican politicians and Ronald Reagan, the idea of the welfare queen that, you hard-working middle-class white person, all your tax dollars, you know where it's going? It's going directly into the pocket of Darky down the street there with welfare and food stamps, and he's a moocher. He's a leech. He's a parasite that's sucking off the government teat, and you're paying for it. Meanwhile, is that the reality of the situation? Of course not. This country spends way more on corporate welfare than regular welfare. We spend way more on warfare than welfare. 57% of discretionary spending is military spending. So the real welfare queens, the people who you should actually hate, Raytheon, Boeing, KBR, Abrams, all these different defense contractors who absolutely raid the Treasury. But no, they can't direct their anger at the right place. I mean, Wall Street, for fuck's sake, they're all welfare queens. We gave them bailouts during the Great Recession because of the decisions they made. They bankrupted their own companies, and then they turned to us and asked for help, and then we helped them, and what did? They spit in our face, and they paid out bonuses to the people who were the failures, and they bought new private jets, and they remodeled their offices, and it cost millions of dollars. We paid for that. But what do these idiots do? They go, no, the problem in the country is the poor people. The people who are left behind by a shitty economic system that doesn't even have enough jobs for them to have one. I mean, we were in a situation where there was one person or 5 people for every one job. So the math doesn't work. There aren't even enough jobs, even if everybody wanted a job. You know? So you can't point your finger at them. For fuck's sake, you're mad at the food stamp program? That's $1.30 a meal to make sure that these little kids don't starve. What the fuck is wrong with you? It's amazing. Only 7% of steadfast conservatives go, yeah, the poor have hard lives. So more conservatives think the rich and the middle class, they think they have a harder life than the poor. They don't even understand definitions. It's unbelievable, man. Overall, amongst all conservatives, 81% said the poor don't have hard lives. There's no way to respond to such stupidity.